Today, South Africa's taken Israel to the International Court of Justice for violations alleged of the Genocide Convention of 1948, which of course was established in the aftermath of the Holocaust.
Yeah.
And that Genocide Convention has, well, five different crimes, one of which is genocide, the other is obviously complicity in genocide, it's public incitement of genocide. But there are 5 acts, and they're being obviously now that they're on trial for an alleged genocide, what's been described by the ICJ as a plausible genocide. Now, the Israeli state and their defenders say this is an outrageous libel. How dare you say that? What's your thoughts in terms of you're someone who survived the genocide?
Yeah.
When they say this is not a genocide taking place yet, what's your thoughts about what's happening in Gaza?
Well, anybody who sees the news and can see the cruel and indiscriminate destruction cannot but agree that it is a genocide. I mean, after all, how can you argue any further after killing tens of thousands of kids, young children? I mean, end of argument, I think. And the pretexts provided, one that it is self-defense, doesn't wash, because we were way beyond that, and you don't self-defense doesn't go with dropping 2,000-pound bombs on living quarters. The other excuse is to liberate the hostages. Again, you don't liberate hostages by bombing. It will never work. If you want to liberate hostages, you negotiate.
Which is the only way we have had big hostages, because more hostages have been killed by Israeli fire than have been liberated.
Not only that, but if Hamas are as evil as they're made out to be, what chance of cornering them and still expecting to find the hostages alive? If they are such evil people, they're never going to allow that. So the whole attitude, the whole claim that this is about saving hostages is a very transparent lie. It is genocide and ethnic cleansing.
I mean, one of the disturbing facets I found is, I mean, I interviewed Raz Sigal, who's an Israeli-American associate professor of Holocaust and Genocide Studies. And he said to me that what's quite unique about this is intent is of the way that
it's
Israeli
declared.
Is very rare, actually. Yeah. So, very striking examples of the Minister of Defence, Yoav Gallant, at the very start, saying we're going to cut off all the essentials of life because we're fighting human animals, or Benjamin Netanyahu invoking Amalek, in which God commands the Israelites to kill men, women, children, livestock, and all the rest. And just, because genocide always starts with words, doesn't it? It always starts with how people speak. So I just wondered about your thoughts.
Yes, it's a process.
That. Exactly.
It's a process, because you first have to completely humiliate and dehumanize the subjects of genocide, which has happened systematically in the case of the Jews and the Holocaust. Absolutely. And I think it's very clear how it is repeating at the present time in Gaza. And also the use of starvation as a method, as a weapon. It cannot be in any way defended. I mean, the Israeli government's attitude of coping with that is quite simply denying it. But that doesn't work, because international bodies confirm that it's going on. And I find that in this connection, our own government's attitude is extremely dubious or wrong-headed. I think supplying arms and going along with and denying that the existence of this deliberate starvation, etc., was facilitating genocide, really.
I mean, that's would you say that our government is facilitating genocide? Was that
I think, yes. But now, when they withdrew support from UNRWA, which was the only method, the best and on the large scale.
So people know that's the UN Agency for Palestinian Refugees. It's the main humanitarian agency in Gaza.
Yeah, which capable of distributing food and medicine, etc. To actually withdraw funds from that is a degree stepping further from facilitating to partnership with genocide, in my opinion.
Absolutely, and we've seen the claims made by the Israeli state about UNRWA have collapsed. They've refused to provide any evidence to support those allegations in a new report which has come out. In terms of people speaking out, I mean, you're speaking out right now, and you've been actually speaking out before this happened. Yeah. Because before I speak, I want to talk about the protests currently happening.
Yeah.
And I'm also interested particularly in this incredibly courageous, often younger, but not exclusively, generation of Jewish people, particularly in the United States, speaking out. But your experience, you've spoken out before this current horror began. And I just want you to tell me a bit about that in the context of the Labour Party.
I was invited to, as a Holocaust survivor, and unfortunately there are fewer and fewer of us remaining who can still stand up and talk. And I was invited by a proscribed organization, as it turns out, to speak about my experiences on Holocaust Memorial Day a year ago, January previous year. And I accepted because I felt that whoever asked me to speak about my experiences, I feel a duty to do so. And this organization, SLN, had trailed that I was going to be on a panel, which got to the Labour Party bureaucracy, and they wrote a letter a couple of days before I was due to speak to warn me that if I were to go ahead with that, I would be subject to disciplinary procedures. And I know what that means by that time. And that means being expelled because the process is completely unjust. People never have a chance to be represented, and no appeal ever succeeds, etc. So I knew that in so many words meant if you go ahead, you will be expelled. So as an immediate response, I resigned my membership and wrote a letter which justified it, explained that to me this was importing McCarthyism into the Labour Party and into the UK itself. So the Labour Party was performing a service of reviving McCarthyism, and I said that would be condemned by history.
I mean, it is extraordinary, you know. I mean, I think history.
And then I left.
Well, I mean, I think how history will look at all of this, I'd be fascinated to know, because in the present, it's almost indescribable, just the sheer level of horror, but the way the world's turned upside down, that those who speak out are the ones who are treated as the extremists. But in the case of the Labour Party, we'd all agree anti-Semitism is a grave evil to be combated, but the idea that protecting Jewish people means taking disciplinary action against Holocaust survivors, I think a lot of people look at that and think that is kind of unhinged.
Yes.
If I'm honest, just completely unhinged.
Yeah, I agree. So my letter was not kept quiet. You know, it was publicized all around, and that actually created quite a lot of interest, and had a few interviews around that time about it with Middle East Eye and some other people.
Others who've spoken out, so for example, Stephen Glazer, the director of Zone of Interest, which is a brilliant film about the Holocaust,